You drive it in, and then it's like just a little cylinder that you pump up, and it's going to probably do the same thing with type of fry. We don't have any of those. So your pushing and pulling tools. You got your different size pike poles, drywall hooks, San Francisco hooks, rubber hooks of 2 different sorts there. Then we go to our striking tools. We got our sledgehammer, which we have one on our back nose, and one past the front. Thank you, sir. Look, mauls, mallets.
We'll drop it.
We use mallets. Usually they're rubber mallets that we use for tightening up our hose connections. Hammers, a battering ram, punch, chisels, flathead axe, and then a pick. Now, as far as they're saying these are striking tools, I don't see myself how a pick would be a striking tool myself.
I mean, I have seen people use it to punch out locks.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with that.
Do they do it to prove a point? Absolutely.
It's just when you look at a pick, it doesn't look like you can strike another tool. Then we got the tools used in combination, nicknamed the irons. That's going to be your flathead axe and your Halloween bar. What are 5 of the tools most commonly used for forcible entry?
Halligan,
Correct.
flathead axe, sledgehammer.
Pickaxe. Pickaxe, correct.
K-12.
That would be one. That's a common tool held on a truck. So yeah, I'll go with that. There's our 5. I would say it's a pickaxe. Does anybody know where that one's located?
On the table.
Or
Currently, that would be a true statement, yes.
that's in 14, isn't it?
No.
It's 34.
No.
There's no tools in the cab of this truck.
See, somebody figured it out pretty quick. It was in the cab of the truck.
On the side.
We'll wait. Don't nobody else answer it. We'll maybe pick up one here in a minute. Okay. There's another compartment. What's that?
It's 24.
Correct. Yep. That's the tools we're going to be using today. It's 9724. So we got a few different forcible entry tools in here. Obviously, we've got our Halligan. It's kind of hidden behind the K-12. Bolt cutters. That's going to be if you had a padlock or something. So obviously, your sledgehammer striking tool. Small butt cutters. We got a vast hammer. We've got a pry bar, chainsaw, K-12. That whole compartment, almost the whole thing, is going to be some type of forcible entry. Obviously, location, that one should be pretty easy. See a pipe hook sticking out the top there, it's on top of the ladder rack. Is there any forcible entry tools in this compartment? Kind of a bad picture, but I did it on purpose.
The trash or pipe hole? Trash.
There's a short pipe hole there, yeah, the yellow handle is a short handled pipe hole, yes sir. Can we use these for forcible entry?
Can.
Yep, we talked about that previously, but we need the power unit in order to use these. Here's more tools we can use. All of these tools are located on 9724. Here's the sawzall I was telling you about. Okay, objective 3, we're going to explain the considerations for forcible entry tool safety. Part of this is maintenance. Improper use of tools can result in several things. It can result in strains, sprains, fractures, abrasions, and lacerations. Preventing injuries when using these tools. Always want to wear appropriate PPE. Only use undamaged tools. Select the right tool for the job. Use tools for their intended purposes only. Position yourself so your weight is balanced on both feet. Ensure that you have room to operate the tool properly. Be aware of sudden release of energy when the door or wall is opened or if you're cutting a fence. Ensure that other personnel are out of the immediate area. Be aware of the environment to prevent gas or vapor ignitions. Some tool safety. We're going to become familiar with all of our tools that you will use. We'll keep tools in properly designated places. Make sure that the tools are secured. Repair or replace damaged tools immediately. Do not strike or a tool's handle. Do not use a prying tool as a striking tool unless it's designed to do so. In my regular industry, like striking the tool's handle, this happens quite often with us, unfortunately, but once you've stricken a handle once or twice, it ain't too many times after that the handle's going to break, because they're just not designed to take that impact. But it usually comes from accidental slippage. It's not like we did it on purpose. Safety with power saws. Match your saw, your blades to the task that the material will be cut. Never force the saw beyond its limitations. Always wear your full PPE. Fully inspect the saw before and after use. One thing that saws blades are definitely not designed for, especially like on K12, if you're making your cut, you don't want to try to twist it. If you start twisting on it, it can actually deform the blade even though while it's under power, and if it gets deformed, then it's going to really start causing all kinds of other problems down the road. Maybe not right that moment. We're not going to use the power saw in any flammable atmosphere or near flammable liquids. Maintain situational awareness. Keep unprotected and non-essential people out of the area that you're working. Follow manufacturer's guidelines for operation. Keep blades and chains sharpened at all times. And be aware of any hidden hazards. They might be behind the walls or doors. What actions can a firefighter take to stay safe while performing forcible entry?
Proper PPE,
That would be the most important one, correct.
be aware of what they know how to do and what they don't know how to do, so they don't have to perform themselves.
Keep your tools properly maintained, as we talked about. Yep. Okay, we're going to explain how to carry enforceable entry tools. Most of this has to do with safety. Keep us from getting in trouble. So they show us here with the pickaxe underneath your armpit with your hand over it. And I also was taught another way, but I don't know if I guess they don't teach that, so I'll just keep them off. Never mind. Combined tools with the Halligan and the axe. As you see, like here, you've got the real pointed part is away from your body. Again, with the Halligan, the hook is pointed away from you. Pike poles, you're going to point the hooks to the ground. That way, if you happen to trip or fall, that you're getting it away from you. They call it a striking pole, but we all know it's a sledgehammer. And then power tools, you're going to keep the blades or chains downward. Also, with chainsaw, if you already have it running, you should always hit your clutch brake until you're ready to use it, then release it right before you get ready to use it. Because again, sometimes your chain can start spinning on its own if the RPMs rev up just the right. How should each of the following tools be carried?
Marry the irons together and hold the part away from you.
Correct.
Pike poles with the tip facing down.
Yep.
Chainsaw low ready with the brake.
Steve, you got one for us?
Yeah, the chainsaw, not the clutch.
He just said that.
Oh, do you? You don't want to.
Don't listen.
Got it there.
Striking tool.
How'd you hear the striking tools?
Under your shoulder with a pick outward.
Well, okay, that's your pickaxe. I'll go with that one. Ted, how would you carry your sledgehammer? Striking tool? The head facing downwards. There you go. There you go. We're good. Okay, now we're going to describe how to clean and maintain those forcible entry tools. Your tools will function and design as properly if they're properly maintained. Tool failure can result in delays, injury, or death. Always follow your manufacturer's guidelines and SOPs. Damaged or excessively worn tools should be removed from service, tagged, or sent for repair or replacement. Maintaining tools with wooden handles. You should always inspect for cracks or splinters, wash and rinse and wipe dry, sand any rough edges as necessary. Check that the unit number or the barcode is proper for the truck that it would belong on. and then coat with the boiled linseed. You never want to paint a wooden handle because you want to be able to check for those cracks and so forth. And then obviously check for the tightness of the head because we don't want to lose a head in the middle of striking. Maintaining tools with fiberglass handles. We're going to wash with a bottle of detergent and rinse and wipe dry. Check for damage or cracks and check for the tightness of the tool head once again. Cutting edges. We're going to inspect for chips, cracks, or spurs. We're going to replace the axe head when required. You're going to file your cutting edges by hand, and you sharpen the blade as specified by SOPs. Ensure the axe head is not too thin or too thick. Also, when you sharpen that axe head, you don't want to use power tools because you can take off too much on one side or the other. Never apply paint to the cutting surface of an axe head. This may cause the cutting surface to stick and bind. And does that one look like it has too much paint on it to you?
Yeah.
The actual cutting surface is right here.
Top.
But in my expertise or my experiences, let me rephrase it that way, usually it's about 2 to 3 inches back, you'll see that the axe heads will be bigger.
Room for error.
Correct.
So to speak.
Correct. And obviously this one,
This just.
it's already wore down and so forth, so the other cutting edges. I have one file in my toolbox, and that's all it's used for, because even at work, screwdrivers, stuff like that, you can clean them up with a file if you don't want to ever use power tools for them. Plated surfaces. Plated with chromium or electroplating to protect metal surfaces. Some of these, like the Halligan here, that's considered a plated tool. Wipe clean and wash using mild detergent water. Rinse and wipe dry. Inspect for any damages. Unprotected metal surfaces, the bare metal. Use an emery cloth or steel wool to remove dirt and rust. Use the metal file to remove burrs. Do not make the blade too sharp. And do not use a mechanical grinder. Oil the surface lightly and avoid any protectant that contains 111 trichloroethane. And I've looked this one up, and the only thing I can figure out why they do that's actually been discontinued because it's what I would call methyl death. It's bad for the body. That's the only thing I could find that was why they didn't want you to use it, maybe. Does anybody got any input on that one? No? Yeah, that was a weird one for me too. Do not apply oil to the striking surface, and do not, I think one reason there, they don't want a chance of sparks, I'm guessing on that one. Do not paint metal surfaces, and inspect metal for the chips, cracks, burrs, or sharp edges, and then file them off as needed. Why must forcible entry tools be regularly cleaned and maintained?
Extend their lifetime, prevent injury, death.
Because if they're not clean and maintained, they don't work at their peak.
Sounds good to me. Okay, we're going to start describing methods of forcing entry through the doors. Consider the resulting damage. Ways to reduce damage resulting from forcible entry. Begin with the minimal amount of damage and proceed to your maximum amount of damage. Determine severity of emergency and speed with which entry must be gained. Try to open a door in a normal fashion or look for a lockbox. Look for the door, window, or a side light panel to provide access. Determine which method is going to be quicker. As you can see here, one picture, we're forcing a lock, removing hinge pins. That's not going to be very easy in some cases. And like that one door I showed you earlier with the crossbar, removing the hinges isn't going to help you with that crossbar situation. And then lastly, forcing the door. Rapid entry lockbox systems. It provides us a way to open doors without forcible entry. It's mounted at a high visibility location and it uses a master key. The door control. It's critical during forcible entry. Ventilation will change the profile change that can adversely affect the fire behavior because it lets in mass amounts of oxygen. Take steps to deal with the fire behavior changes if the door is damaged and cannot close. Firefighter stations the door to help control. Only pop the door open if closing the door was gonna block egress. Gaining access to the properties. Types of fences and gates, you got wood, masonry, chain link, ornamental metal, which wrought iron's another name for some of that. Some of it's aluminum, it looks like wrought iron. Plastic, barbed wire, wire fabric, and then obviously security gate with electronic locks. Fencing hazards, barbed wire, razor ribbon, livestock pets or guard dogs, electrified fences, and the recoil of them when cutting the fence. Electric shock may result if you cut electrified fences before de-energizing them. Forcing gates and fences. Cut with a rotary saw or bolt cutters. Go over the fence instead of through it if at all possible. Lock boxes or keypad codes, hopefully. Pry gate open or use an apparatus bumper. Force the padlock or chain. Prying or cutting the gate should be the last method chosen though, because of the amount of damage it's going to cause. Wire will recoil in the direction of the next post on the fence when it is cut. So if you're gonna force entry here and you got a pole right there and you need to get close to that building, you want to stand on one side of that pole and cut it on the opposite side of that pole because that wire will go away from you then. Some gates of commercial sites may be provided with special padlocks and or electronic key switches that are operated with the same key used to access the lock boxes. An advantage we have out here, I have found recently, Crystal Lake's out at the end of Bell Road in Zor Church out there. That one you can walk around to the back of the gate, actually turn the power off, and you can force it open. Back gated incline off of WW. There's a couple different ways. That one, I think we actually got a clicker in the trucks now. But it used to, was it the whale that we used to?
Yelp.
Yelp. If you turn the Yelp on the siren, it would automatically open it too. It had a
Rate 15 seconds with Yelp. It just can't be a couple seconds.
I got you.
Yeah, it takes
Okay, door locks, latches, and locking devices. We're going to go over these today, but that's not going to be part of our skill sheets. You have mortise locks, cylindrical locks, rim locks, and obviously high security locks. Here's how a mortise and latch lock would look. It's kind of a cutout. This is your actual handle here, obviously, and they cut it out so you can see how the mechanism works. But then the key would also do the same thing. It'll lock in up here and prevent this one from turning because you got your deadbolt and your actual latch. Here's your cylindrical lock, which is standard of almost all homes nowadays. This is your button that comes through the outside and inside of the house. Your keyway. Whenever you, we'll get into the tools in a minute, but on how you can bust these off easy. Here's another type of cylinder lock. More of a deadbolt. The easiest way to breach modern deadbolts at a wood residential door is to force the door itself. Here's different types of rim locks. Night latch, deadbolt, and a vertical deadbolt. Now, the only one I think I've ever seen myself and then more on older houses is this one. To me, the only difference between that one and this one is it's got an extra lock here that doesn't allow it to turn.
It actually keeps it open. I have one of those.
Is that what it was? It keeps it
Yeah.
open? Okay, thank you.
Because you can close it without having to move it.
And like I said, I've never seen one of them before.
Yeah.
So high security locks, you got multiple bolt locks, you got your electronic keyless locks and electromatic locks. Electromatic locks, those are, I've seen on the, well, I've seen them the opposite way. I've seen where they hold the door open and then in the event of a fire, it releases the magnet and allows that fire door to actually close. We have one of them in my building at work. Padlocks. Here's your different components. If you're gonna cut a padlock, you're always best to cut through both of them because you don't know which one of them has the shackle heel that's gonna go down to the lock mechanism. So if you happen to cut this side, you might not get enough stroke to get this to turn. Some of these won't turn over here. But they'll always pivot over here, but they're not always pivot on this side, I have found. So if you're gonna cut a padlock, make sure you cut both sides. Here's a different style drop bar we talked about earlier. This one here is just holding the double doors together. It don't look like it goes all the way to the frame. Door limiters, you see them in almost every hotel you go into nowadays. And then obviously the rest of them, door chain, internal mount bolts. These are like, again, going to be in a double swinging door. You might open the one door up and the secondary door will have these where you can leave that one locked all the time or unlock it and leave it unlocked. So you have to open the first one to get to those. Now it's your bolt. What types of locks and locking devices are firefighters likely to encounter?
Yes. All of them.
Correct.
Drop bars or the push bars.
Yep.
A lot of the cylindrical deadbolts.
That's what most of them would be correct.
Although there's also like key code ones.
They act like but they do act like a cylindrical lock though. I've had one of them apart already. Even though they have that big old monster keypad in there, that handle that goes through the electronic portion of it, once you've gotten into that, it still has that normal forward, that square head that's going to turn. It's just got the electronic device on it for the actual lock. Okay, discussion question. Research to see what types of specialized locking devices such as high security locks or electronic locks are present in your jurisdiction and where are these located?
Osage County Gods.
Yep, that would be
Good fucking luck.
There you go.
Excuse me.
Thank you. The other one that was the hangies earlier with the double sliding glass door. That would be another hard one to breach. And then the subway helps. It had a double padlock on the inside of that.
That's all the slides we got.
No.
Get this space bar on the computer. It worked.
I was thinking it wouldn't work.
He just did.
Just didn't know if you. Control Alt Delete.
Totally.
He said it explode.
I mean,
They had an operator in there. Somehow I turned it off.
that's so much better than the rest of it.
I don't even know how my finger got up there where that's at. Okay, coordinating forcible entry and door control. Forcible entry creates ventilation openings. Forcible entry must be coordinated with the interior activities. Time between forcing entry and fire attack or search and rescue can allow the fire to entrain oxygen and grow. A firefighter should monitor the door to control that flow path and keep the door closed unless tactics require it open. Breaking the door glass. There's a couple different places you can see here. You can break it. You can break it inside the door, or you can break it in what they call the side light. Some of these glasses are tempered glass and can be expensive to replace. So sometimes you got to see if you can figure that out ahead of time, because otherwise it could be a very costly repair for the homeowner or business owner. Breaking glass may be difficult and costly. Ordinary glass shatters into sharp fragments. If breaking glass in a burning building, wear an SCBA and have a charge